அருட்பெருஞ்சோதி அருட்பெருஞ்சோதி தானி பெரும் கருணை அருட்பெருஞ்சோதி 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 தானி பெரும் கருணை அருட்பெருஞ்சோதி 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 தானி பெரும் கருணை அருட்பெருஞ்சோதி.
Good day all of you, and my name is Rajagopalan Babu. Happy to be here. Trust all of you are able to see me. I have not yet started sharing my presentation, right? I will be sharing that soon. I think the fundamental concept which I am just planning to explain is what is the relevance of the modern development and Sanmargam, right? So many a times, we are trying to look at the Sanmargam more in a traditional way, the old way of doing things, several years back, right? So whereas we should try to put the context from the perspective of the current developments, what's happening in the world. I think that is an important thing which we have to do. So it makes sense for us to calibrate it, right? It's very important that, we calibrate our thought process, because all of us, most of us, whenever you are awake, more than 70 to 80% of the time, we spend in the activities that are either related to work or either related to any mundane activities, what we are spending. And the activities, whatever we are doing in this, whatever is the time which you are awake, the 80% of them, it uses all the technologies, right? So all the way from the internet, it's not just the internet, the books what you read, the newspaper what you go through, right? The money what you use, the manner on which the money is being used, the manner on which the business is being conducted, the manner on which research activities that are happening in the technology is completely different. So earlier, the various yogic techniques and Siddha techniques, these are all told several thousands years back. I think Vallalar has actually modernized it, though it is close to around 200 years back, right? In the last 200 years, there are phenomenal changes which has happened. So the first thing what we will look at is what was different 1,000 years back, 1,500 years back. I think I would like to take an example of Buddha. Buddha was so tired of the intermediaries, those who are claiming to be in between God and us. He was so tired of them, so he completely established the new path, right? So over a period of time, what we normally see is the God-seeking activities would be corrupted by the in-betweens, the agents. I just don't want to name who are they. So the essence, what we have to get, right? And whatever is the real truth, we don't get it. So that is the reason, time and again, we need to recalibrate to understand what is relevant today, what matters a lot. Right? During Vallal Berman's time, there was a severe famine, right? People were dying, right? In Tamil Nadu, thousands and millions of people have died. And in Bengal, during the same time, millions died. You just Google it and see Bengal famine, right? Because of the Britishers' rule, Britishers have sent all the grains that is meant for our own consumptions, what was grown by Indians traditionally for our own consumption, they have diverted this to Europe. which they were serving this as a buffer stock to Europe, right? So whereas our people were dying, right? So Churchill also made a very famous statement that let those people die. Anyway, they are going to die, right? So that was the sort of the statement that was being done. So that is why we all can understand that Vallalar has given the topmost priority to eradication of the hunger. The suffering, whatever we are getting, we are experiencing, that is why, he has faced it at that point of time. It was evident and he was experiencing it. And when another being is suffering, he could feel it. So that is why, he has established it. And that is a true path, right? So now what we are going to do is, now, as I mentioned, 80% of our time, we are all busy in our work, our career path, our business, right? So we are too selfish. We want our kids to do extremely well in the school or a college, right? We wanted to have the best of the cars, right? Is it wrong? Because the whole world is doing, everybody is doing it, right? So we are all very keen about engaging and going to the next level, right? So whatever may be the next level, someone wants to be very successful and being an entrepreneur. Someone wants to be successful in business. Someone wants to really understand and do the service to others full time, which is perfectly okay, right? So we can do whatever is the work that we have, we can continue to do, because Sanmargam, thanks to Ananda Bharati, which he has clearly mentioned, it is not a way how the traditional yogis used to do. I was reading this book, Hatha Yoga Patrika. This is a 12th or 13th century Sanskrit text. Of course, I read the English translation. It says that you be in a specific asana, right, called Siddhasana. You sit there for 12 years. I'm not mistaken. You sit in Siddhasana for 12 years. You will achieve the salvation. It's actually mentioned. Is it a reality? Is it what we wanted to do? Right? Definitely not. Right? So the principle, whatever mentioned in the Sanmargam, is very much applicable here, and it is very much relevant today, right? So having said that, though we are very proud of our traditions, our way of working, the Westerners got a thing or two to teach us, right? We have been in a society, we were always learning new things, right? These Westerners got certain things. They can do it in a very good way, which we Indians have not done, right? I was reading about temple's history, right? So I tried to went outside the temple and I saw the board which is written, what is the history of the temple. So it just, I don't want to make a specific mention. It was mentioned that so-and-so XYZ came in that Viman, right? And he stopped it. Come on, look at it. This is that flight, that Viman, right? So there is, but can you can you appoint the pilot to take that off? So today we are not able to do it. So we are finding it very difficult to explain our tradition to those who are outside from our thing, our tradition, right? Only if you are from this family, you may believe. There is another trend. What happens is that we as human beings, we have been always telling stories to each other, right? We believe in gossip, we love to exchange gossip. So whenever a story is being communicated, every time when the story goes to the next level, it is not that somebody is intentionally corrupting, the story would change. So essentially in 3-4 generations, the whole story would get completely changed. So that's why we see a Viman in a temple which no one can ride it, right? Whereas in a today's society, in a scientific society, if you have a theorem, you can prove it. I can prove it, right? Anyone can do an experiment, right? Today, as a part of this discussion, we are going to do some experiments, right? Many times we think that you need a huge laboratory to do an experiment. Yes, you can do a huge laboratory. There is an experiment you can do. One of the largest laboratory, what you see in the world is called CERN. It's outside Switzerland. So it's in a particle accelerator, approximately, if I'm not mistaken, the circumference is 23 kilometers or mile, I just don't recollect. So what they do is that they accelerate a particle, right? And they break open an atom to find out what is there inside. This is the biggest laboratory, right? Biggest equipment. So, but we can also do that. We are going to do some experiments. You can do an experiments with the tubes. Einstein did a fantastic experiment, right? So that what he calls it as a thought experiment. You don't need any machinery to do it. Just a thought experiments is what Einstein has done that. But you can prove that, right? One of a popular science experiment, what Einstein did is called, there were two sisters, one sister got into a flight, a spaceship, which was moving at the speed of a light. And she went for a fantastic trip. And when she came out, just to realize that her sibling, her twin, has become very, very old, right? So this is an experiment. This is a story. Mathematically, you can prove that. In the recent years, it was proved that in the two jet flighters, in the jet engine flight, they kept an atomic clock. They kept something there in the ground. They kept something in the jet flight. So it was proved that the time will slow down when the speed is increasing. So any proposition, any theory, any hypothesis you provide, anyone should be in a position to prove, right? I think that is the topic of the day, right? I am trying to figure out, I hope I may get a presentation rights. So host disabled participant for screen sharing. Okay. So may I request the host to enable me the sharing access. So while he's doing, right? So let me tell you, what yeah, I got an access now. Share screen. Okay, here we go. I trust you are able to see my screen. Do you see a screen?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. So let me share the screen. So the topic is modern physics and Sanmargam. So I just translated it. Irai Iyarbiyalum, It was also, sounding rhythmic. So what we are going to discuss is, we will discuss about the ancient wisdom, which all of us are very proud, and the modern life, right? So in my first slide, the next slide, which I'm just going to show you, I will conclude what I'm going to speak, right? So otherwise, the physics and the science is a very, very big topic. Sanmargam is a very big topic. Let me admit, I'm neither an expert in science or physics, and I'm curious about Sanmargam, but as a practitioner, I have to say that I am quite weak. But I'm aspiring. I'm just loving that whole concept, right? I would be happy if any of you can help me to understand better and adapt it and practice it, use it. I would be really, really happy. So the ancient wisdom and what is the relevance of that we will discuss. Then I have an animal demo, right? I'm just going to show you animals. Any kids there? I think I have some of my toys which are there. I'm just going to do a demonstration to explain a scientific concept, right? That experiment, what you are going to do, all of us are going to become like a god. And we will try to create a living being in a thought experiment, right? Like how Einstein has did a thought experiment by sending one of the sibling, one of the kid to spaceship, which was traveling at the speed of light experiment. So we can also sit in comfort of your seat, and we are going to do a thought experiment. I will be basically showing you. We will try to, when Einstein can launch a ship which can go in speed of light, for time being, we will attempt to become a demigod and try to create a life form, right? So that's an animal demo one we will do. If you got kids around during that time, please bring them. That is in another 5-6 minutes. If you got a kids around, please bring your kids and enable your video. During that demo time, I would be happy to see you all, right? So then we will look at it. Before we actually get into modern physics or science, we will try to understand what is the way by which the knowledge was, how we managed to capture the knowledge, how scientific knowledge was captured. It is very important. And you also have to know the language on which the science is being communicated, right? See, the philosophical thing, the spiritual knowledge, they always say that you have to experience it. You cannot express that in a specific language. Similarly, in an ordinary language, science cannot be explained. And one language is not sufficient. And I'll just touch upon that. Not only that, the next aspect is how do you capture it, I remember those days that there is this poor shishya will keep massaging his guru's feet, and he will do all the kitchen work and all the work to do the guru. After 12-13 years, he will reveal a secret 1 or 2 poems, right? People were not ready to share the knowledge in those days. Now you got all the technology. So we need to make the best use of it. Whatever was taking a lot of time, we can capture that and relate the things that are already there. We don't have to. It's extremely important because in science and also in spirituality, a lot of knowledge is there. You should have the capability to connect it. Then we will understand what is scientific method, right? We will learn what is the scientific method all about. That is the most important thing. And on those logic, I'm proposing something called Sanmargam method, right? So it's basically more like a fusion, and this is a poor attempt, I may say, the way how science is approaching the problems that are there around us, right? Why don't we approach Sanmargam as a concept, right? So Sanmargam, what is it? Already a lot of people have spoke. It is basically a lifestyle. It's a practical lifestyle which would allow us to lead a better life, to enjoy your life, right? I would even say that if someone wants to be financially successful, if you wanted to be financial freedom, if you wanted to achieve, that's what the modern countries, these Americans keep telling, right? You should get the financial freedom. Yes, you have a mechanism to get financial freedom. You can achieve whatever you have in mind, provided it is adhering to the laws of this world, right? So I'm just proposing that. Then there are a lot of modern theories which are there. I think we may not have a time to go through all of this. And second is, we collectively may have to do some research to find out, how to take this concept ahead, right? But nevertheless, even in the second slide, what I'm going to show you, the conclusion of this presentation is already being shown. Okay. So if that's being the case, I will go to the next slide. So ancient wisdom, we are all very, very fascinated about our ancient wisdom, right? And we always think that people who lived 2000 years, they lived a fantastic life, right? So we also think that people who lived 1000 years, they lived a fabulous life. There is no pollution and everybody was good, right? But if you closely look at the history, I will also show you a couple of books which I have read about this. It is not that you have all that rosy picture, right? People were suffering. The life expectancy used to be around 35 or 40 in India, right? Before the independence. So now if you take it, it may be more than 70, right? And we know from the photographs what we see. Even if you look at the old Indian movies, you see, people were struggling. They were starving. They were finding it very difficult to run their families. You can see those Shivaji Ganeshan movies. They will cry, keep crying. Right? So even if you, as I mentioned, even at the Buddha's time, things were not good. There is a classification which was created. The biggest division, the biggest thing, human Homo sapiens are very, very clever being. We were not the only beings, Homo sapiens. We had our sister species, right? Neanderthals, who used to be in Europe, was, one of the good example. You had what is called as a Homo erectus. Right? So the modern Europeans, they still say that, 2 to 4% of the DNA is still from Neanderthals, not purely Homo sapiens. The China, the Chinese government is telling that, they are not believing in the single mother, who gave, I think you all know that around a million, around 100,000 years back, there was a mother who gave birth to 2 daughters, right? One happened to be our great grandmother. The other is chimpanzee's great grandmother, So that's a way it evolved. So what Homo sapiens did, as they started going around the world, there is a theory which is not fully proven, that they were so dominating, right? And as an individual, if you take a human being, he is not very, very agile. We cannot match a horse. You cannot match a leopard, right? But collectively, when it comes, the Homo sapiens collectively together, they are really, really lethal. Right? They say that they even wiped out Neanderthals and other beings. And the cruelty which is there in the human beings, we keep seeing crimes, which is there deep inside us. 30,000 years back, when Homo sapiens started moving and spreading all over the world, wherever they went, the large mammals, the mammoths, which was in Siberia, all the big animals were just vanished. right? So there are evidences for that. There are fossil evidences for that, right? So don't please worry that if you are not able to lead a good life, if you are not able to lead a life what you intending to do, right? You wanted to get up, you wanted to be kind, you don't wanted to express anger, right? You wanted to live in serene. If it is not happening, don't worry, because biologically we are not all that great, right? But at the same time, we have been given a cognitive capability, right? And if we want, we can overcome our collective disabilities we have, which we inherited gradually. If you are an animal, we are definitely an animal of some sort. And all these bad characters, when you leave, you become a human being. So there is a possibility for us to evolve, right? So while as a human being, we were very cruel, thanks to the collective brain capability what they have given. If I was born, let's say that if I was left as a child in a forest, 20 years after, what sort of a being you will see, someone will capture and cage that Babu, right? So when we human being, we are there together, right? And we start doing introspection. We start contemplating on what is there around us. Who am I? From where I have come? What is the nature, right? So the conclusion of the whole humanity, it's not my conclusion, is the nature is kind. What defines the nature? It's extremely, extremely kind. And it is very nice. It's got a fantastic rules it has got. And we are the part of the nature. When the nature is kind, and when you and when I and we all a fragment of that, which means the expectation is that we are expected to be kind. Being kind is not a choice. Being kind is not the one which is nice to have. Being kind is what we are. Right? So this is the conclusion. So how do we? So now we are all, we are with our collectively, we have been encapsulated with various types of sheets, money, business, craving to buy a new phone, right? I was just telling my son, you buy iPhone 13 because so that I can also play with that, right? So just look at the craving what you have. When other person has got, I again wanted to have, right? So what we need to do is we need to do introspection, right? Which is called, it's also called Satvicharam. We need to keep doing that, right? The first part is that says, when we are a part of the nature means we are expected to be kind. That is called Parobharam. So which is essential two key words of a Sanmargam. Satvicharam and Parobharam. So how do I achieve this? We must adhere to the nature's law, right? If you are not along the river's path, right? And we can never swim and reach your destination. We need to be, whichever is the way the nature current is flowing, we should flow. Then you will see whatever you want, you are achieving it, right? The last and important point is we don't have to be afraid or we don't have to be shy of understanding science, using a technology. I know that some of us are even afraid to even earn honest money. Why? Right? Absolutely not. You should be really proud of doing what we are doing. Use the computing tools. Use the business. With what perspective? With the perspective of being kind. With the perspective of being a part of the nature. You know, that's the summary, right? Whatever story which I'm telling, this is not my story, because I have because I'm basically trying to understand. I will share you some of the great things where I just got an inspiration. The first book is, Thiru Arutpa, right? So those of you who are new here, in fact, I have invited a few people here who may not be knowing Vallalar's teaching here. So that first book is, Thiru Arutpa, Urainadai Pagadi, Thiru Arutpa poems. We all should read, at least, we should keep this. It will be a great inspiration. Even some of you cannot read Tamil, you can still keep that book. Not only that, how do I practically use it? That is where James Clear is coming into picture. He's a fantastic, he's an American, his blog is very, very popular. If you have to adhere to the discipline, Atomic Habits and James Clear, he can teach a thing or two to aspiring Sanmargis, right? So how it is, what it is, and on some other day we can see, but it's undoubtedly a Western tool will allow us to do whatever our font or whatever you believe, right? So Vallalar or any other guru, they never told you to believe in what they sell. They are telling that I am presenting this fact to you. You evaluate. If you understand and you become that. That's what they are telling. So for that, we need to have a habits. There is another book. This is again a New York Times. It was there in the New York Times list for more than, I think, a couple of years. The book is called Alchemist. I think I would suggest it's a super good book. You should read. You should also read this book called Make Time, Jake Snap, and one more author is the thing. And another great book, you wanted to read, if you have time and energy, or you watch the video summaries of Yuval Noah Harari, who is a professor from Tel Aviv University in Israel. Superb book. And I can say that my life, it has changed. The way how I was started looking at everything changed after reading this book. There is another book which I mentioned. It's an history of prehistoric story of in India. What was this stage, right? Right. I think you don't have to read that book, right? So there is this book by Bill Bryson, which is one of the very popular book in Amazon, right? A short history of everything, and Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time, right? And of course, Thirukural and Vivekananda's complete work. I think you guys can listen to that in Audible, because I have been trying to read this for several years. I never managed to read, but now it's available in Audible. 18 hours, you can audio, you can hear, right? And the God equation, so this is a very popular book, but I would say that there is no God equation that exists. I can actually show you what is that their so-called God equation or a God particle. There is no such God particle exists. Whatever is given in the newspaper, it is not appropriate. I will just trying to explain So sometimes what happens, because the journalists are also looking for stories, So I think absolutely not, right? An aspiring Sanmargi will be in a better position to evaluate that, right? And Yoga Sutra is an unbelievably great book, right? Dharmapa is Buddha's teaching. Ekanath Ishwaran's translation is and commentary is fantastic. And Robin Sharma's in a couple of books are interesting. This 5 a.m. Club. In fact, I have not mentioned that book here. After we read the 5 a.m. Club, I started a 5 a.m. Club, those who were not at all awaking, few of us are attempting to come up. Homo Deus is another book by the same author, Sapiens. This is human beings eventually should evolve and they would become more like a god, right? The Homo Deus, this is basically a Latin word, right? So Homo Deus. So eventually he's telling that how algorithms and the AI and human being and cognitive, all of that, what is your human being's next history? All Sanmargis, if at all, I would wanted you to read, I think one book, what we should read is Homo Deus. I think prior to that, if you read Sapiens, you'll be able to make more sense. If not, at least so you go through the YouTube videos. And it's very important that, we create wealth, right? Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, that's the mother of all the books. I think we have to read. Sanmargis should read, Sanmargis should be wealthy, so that the service can reach a lot of people, right? So now what I will do, can someone help me? How do I stop sharing? Okay, fine. I found the screen. Okay. So, guys, I think those of you who want, you may enable your videos. We are going to the next part. Can I see you? Some of you, at least. Hello. We are going to do an experiment. Because I wanted to see few of you, at least 2-3, because I'm like a circus ringmaster. If I don't see people, I see a lot of faces now. Hello, Amrish, and I can see. Fantastic. Well, okay. So the game, I think, shall we play a game or shall I explain you a complicated equation? So what do you guys want? I give you a choice.
Play a game.
Shall I explain you the Maxwell's equation, which describes the electromagnetic wave, which is very, very interesting. Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Second order, or shall we play a game?
We play a game.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Okay. So I think if at all you have kids around, please bring the kids around, right? What we are going to do is, Sanmargam means, spirituality. Spirituality is always considered to be a serious business. Absolutely not, right? So, that, I have some habit of reading books. I'm also a great artist. Shall I show you some of my fantastic paintings from which, we will start playing a game? Is it okay? Okay.
Love to see that.
Okay. And can you see my masterpiece? How beautiful it is? Huh? Is it beautiful? Okay, let me show you another one. How is this masterpiece? Tick, tick, tick. Tick, 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 tick. Can you see this masterpiece? Whoa, whoa. It's biting me. Wow, wow, wow. It's just biting me. Huh? So, what we are going to do, gentlemen and ladies, is there any kid around? Any kid, anyone who is below 15 years? Is there anyone? Please come, and I want, old people are good, but I like, fantastic. Okay, I think Amrish here is the youngest kid. Amrish is 76 years old, my friend Amrish. Hi. Amrish is the youngest kid here. Okay, so we are going to play a game and assume that I empower all of you to become a god for next 5 minutes, right? Can you assume this responsibility for 5 minutes? and let's all become God, right? Why not, right?
Sure.
There is this popular movie where somebody will become a one-day chief minister. Which movie it is?
One-day chief minister, yes.
Oh, Mudalvan, fantastic. Yeah. It's a very, very interesting movie like that. We will also become that. Okay. Now, so this is all about science and Sanmargam, right? To the latest theory which explains about the world is called string theory, right? The string theory explains that the energy as a particle behaves like not like a dot. There is one theory says that the energy behaves like a wave. The other theory says that it's a photon, that is a small piece of energy would keep going, right? Whereas if you apply the Schrödinger's equation and Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, by putting all the pieces together, they came up with this theory called string theory. If you have to understand, you need to have the capability to manage, to visualize 11 dimensions. How many dimensions? How many dimensions did I say?
11 dimensions.
Yeah. But we all know that how many dimensions I can see now? X, Y, Z. How many dimensions?
3.
3. Very good. And there is a fourth dimension, which is called, what's the fourth dimension? 3 dimension. One is X, second is Y, third is Z. What's the third dimension, fourth dimension?
Time.
Fantastic. I think Onkar told. Yes, Onkar. I think Onkar is right. Time is the fourth dimension. Okay. See, whereas the fifth dimension, we cannot see. But why we are not able to see fifth dimension? Because we don't have the senses which can perceive and collect the data on the fifth dimension and give you. So, but if I attach another sensor to me, which can sense the fifth dimension, I can do this, right? There is a great neuroscientist called Daniel Eagleman. It's a San Francisco-based neuroscientist. He is telling that, you can augment a new sense to the human being. Very, very interesting work. Okay. So you can augment it, but today, is it possible for you to add an additional sense to you so that you can add an additional dimension? Is it possible for any one of you? Amrish?
Yes, absolutely.
Can I implant an electrode, come your home and implant a sensor onto your brain?
Yeah, I need one.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
That will enhance my perception.
I know that, you are a smart guy, you have got a guts to take my implants.
Sure.
But Amrish lives pretty close to my house, 2 kilometers, but rest of you cannot come home. So what about decreasing the number of dimensions? Increasing is difficult, right? So time dimension, you and me, we don't have a control, we'll leave it. So we have a 3 dimension, right? So as a God, as we are going to become God, shall we reduce the number from 3 dimension to 2 for today? Is it okay? Yeah. So I am a 3-dimension being, right? So you got the x-axis, you got the y-axis, I also got the depth, right? See, you can see I have a depth. See, this is my depth, right? I can prove you that I have a depth. See? So this is my depth. This is x-axis, this is y-axis, this is z. Okay? So for the sake of simplicity, we are going to reduce the dimensions. Shall we reduce? Okay. So we have reduced and we have this 2-dimension animal. Can you see this?
Yes.
So this is a 2-dimensional animal because has it got a depth? Can you see a depth? You don't see a depth because paper has got a very small depth, but assume that it does not have depth. So what do you call? This is a 2-dimensional animal, right? So I have one more animal here, right?
Which is a 2D.
We will do a thought experiment with this. The 2-dimensional being assume that is living in your one dimension world. What is a one dimension? One straight line only.
Yes.
Assume that the edge of my monitor, I will disable the virtual background so that you can see this image clearly. Can you see my mess in my background?
Yes.
Okay, then it's working. Okay.
Babu sir, one request. So we have the next speaker at 12, in 10 minutes. So whatever.
We'll close it. We'll close it. I'll close it.
Okay. So I would suggest that we can have a second session one more day.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
no problem. No, I'll wind it up by 9:29. Okay. So this being is going like this. You remember? Okay. Now the biggest question is, if there is another being coming, how they will cross each other, right? You cannot cross. You cannot go this way because there is no Z dimension. The only way what you can do is it has to go like this. So this is not possible. You as a God, today we all failed because it is not possible for you to have a being which can live in 2 dimensions, right? The scientists call this as a Goldilocks condition. The Goldilocks condition is the condition where all the parameters for you is absolutely in the right condition. The escape velocity of electron, right? All of this is absolutely correct, right? So today what I will do in the next 10 minutes, I will skip this. I will do this next 2 part. Okay. So how the scientific knowledge is captured, right? So there are some languages which you have to know. One of the popular language which you don't have to learn is Latin, right? One of the famous work in Latin, which changed the world, is called Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica. This is by Isaac Newton. So Latin is an important thing. Sanskrit is also a very important language, right? Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha. It's an extremely important text. And Tamil is another language, which is important for you. ஜீவர்களுக்கு ஜீவர்கள் விஷயமாக உண்டாகின்ற ஆன்ம உருக்கத்தை கண்டு தெய்வ வழிபாடு செய்தல் வேண்டும். Plus it doesn't stop there. You must know mathematics in order to be in the modern world, right? So what is the mathematics looks like, right? The natural phenomena, right? The natural world is one of the this equation is pretty, I think 40-50 years old, is expressed with this equation. Okay. And you use the graphical techniques to capture all of this, right? And not only that, we don't have to be afraid of programming languages. Programming languages also very, very much needed for you. So I will skip this part and go to our quick case study. So this I will skip, this I will skip, this I will skip. Let's try to understand today what is the scientific method. Scientific method is nothing but you observe certain things, you research on some topics, you come up with the hypothesis, test the hypothesis, analyze and report the conclusions and let the cycle complete. This is the way all the scientific experiments are done. When the apple fell down, that was an observation. Isaac Newton did the research. He came up with an hypothesis. 3 laws he came up with. Every action has got equal and opposite reaction. F is equal to m multiplied by a, right? And so on. And that was proved. And he came up with the calculus. And all the technology today, you have most of the technologies which was done using this specific cycle. Okay. Now we will apply this case study for Sanmargam, right? First, what we should do, we should observe the things that are around us. Why human beings are suffering, right? Various types of observations. Or I have an aspiration to earn money. I wanted to build a business, right? So two texts which are important, which is from Vallalar's teaching is, he says, if you are kind to the other being, if you can read Tamil, you can read this. If you are kind, this is a proof. And if you are really, really sincere about it, right, you will get, right, whatever is the material wealth which you have, you will get it. You will have the fantastic, your wisdom will be super good, right? You will be surrounded by great friends. You will have a fantastic family life. Is it not all of us wanted? This is, in the research, when you read this book, this is coming here. You be kind to other beings. Do a self-introspection. You must not be having a financial problem. All your issues, you should be closing. This is a research. So what we can do, we can come up with an hypothesis. I try to plot this hypothesis. The hypothesis is that you will be able to meet your needs by following the daily rituals, which is called a Nitya Karma Vidhi, and certain other disciplines, right, for your mind and soul and body. When you follow this, you get three different types of benefits. The first one is all your personal things will be all inmai inba labam in Tamil, right? And marumai inba labam and per inba labam, right? It's an extremely simple hypothesis. You do this. It's very simple. You be kind to people, you be good, you should not be having any problem. So what I suggest, as we are all coming to the end of this discussion, right, I wanted to show you this Maslow's motivation model, which says that, what we are aspiring to be in. What we are aspiring, we want our physical needs to be met, which is there in the lowest one. We want money, we want house, we want food, right? Then safety needs. I wanted to be you lock your house, right? Your belonging and your love needs, you wanted to be good with your family, you want loving people, everyone. And you wanted to be very proud of yourself, right? So these needs, the first three needs will be fulfilled. Vallalar calls it as Inma inba labam, right? You will not have any disease. You will not have, again, there are some ifs and buts which are there, because the karma debt, whatever you have to pay the debt what you have, right? So gentlemen, I think, ladies, this is the simple proposition. We can use this scientific experiment, scientific method, observe, and the hypothesis is nothing but a Sanmargam. You be kind to people who are around. There are certain rules which are there, they can help you. The team members, we have a lot of experts here, Ananda Bharati here. There are so many experts who are there who can just give you practical tip on how exactly, you should do. What is that secret sauce, right? That you can avail it. You can use it. And I'm not trying to be boasting on this, because I'm so confident, because I did some experiment which happened to work, right? I can also call myself as a stupid, small scientist. Anyone, who is doing this cycle is a scientist. You can take any hypothesis and try this, observe, do a research, and do what is being told. You see whether your basic needs are met, right? But again, subject to your karmic debts, what you have. So test the results, analyze the data, conclude the experiment, right? So I think that is one of the theory which I would like to call this as a scientific Sanmargam method, right? So there are so many other methods which are there, some of that are, you yourself can read it in an internet, right? The possible next actions, which I suggest is a crowd work. Crowd work means, multiple of us can possibly work on how you can blend the modern life and Sanmargam, right? We don't have to be shy about that. We don't have to be afraid of that, right? So that is what would be the next action I suggest. I'm not here trying to sell Sanmargam as a religion or whatever, because we don't, Sanmargis, we don't have a religion, we don't have a caste, we don't distinguish anything, right? We are the free-spirited people, right? And we believe that the nature is kind and we are the part of the nature, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, though my toys are waiting, we need to perform more experiment at a later point of time. So now, with that conclusion, and try to read and follow Nitya Karma Vidhi. This will be the only single suggestion I have. I promise you that all the ailments, all your needs, your psychological need, your physiological need, your emotional needs, even the financial needs would be met, right? So this is a law of nature, right? So with that, thanks a lot, all of you. I'm sorry that I'm just 2 minutes delay. So over to Prasanna / organizers. Thank you very much. You all have a great day.